katoa, e te mana whenua, nā tuahiri, tēnā koutou. Nō te tari pūhanga pūriri i te kaupika pūhanga au, he pukinga au, ko George Stillwell tuku ingoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Hi everyone, my name is George Stillwell. I'm a lecturer here in the Mechanical Engineering Department in the Faculty of Engineering, and I'm here to welcome you today to this event that Engineering NZ is putting on, so Artificial Intelligence in Engineering. I'm the chair of the Young Engineers Committee, so I welcome everyone here, but obviously we've put this event on in collaboration with our Canterbury branch. Thanks for signing in at the back, and you will see that there's also like a QR code poster around for the Canterbury Engineers LinkedIn group if you are interested in learning about more of the engineering events, Engineering NZ events that we have. If you do need to go to the toilet, then if you head out this way and take your first left, then in the corridor there's some toilets for you to use. Other than that, I'll pass you over to Blake, who will be emceeing and speaking in the event, so we'll put it there. Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming, guys. My name's Blake. I only graduated 6 months ago. 2 years ago, I found out that AI ChatGPT could do my entire degree for me. So that was like, oh shit, this is kind of where it's going. And so from there, I've now been fortunate enough to work at MainPower, and now my kind of full-time role here is going, hey, how do we use AI and move that forward? I'm now volunteering on the Young Engineers Committee as well, and a lot of conversations I've had with the engineers is there's a lot of hype, a lot of talk around it, but what are people actually doing? And so we put together this presentation today. So these are the speakers. I'll let them introduce themselves. We'll go Cowan first, in order. Just go ahead, Joe, if you want.
G'day, Cowan. I'm co-founder of a little business called Avocado AI. We're AI educators, so we help teams and people learn how to work in and with AI on a day-to-day basis.
Hello, Annie from Humaneer. I'm a co-founder. We have built the first AI native product across Australia, New Zealand, and
Good evening, my name's Ian. I'm part of a structural consultancy. We're here in Christchurch and down in Wanaka. We're about 25 big. Yep.
Awesome. So how's this going to run? We've got 4 10, 15-minute presentations about kind of what we do in the AI space and how that relates to engineering. Then we'll have an open question and answer session. You can ask any questions to us. And then it's just open networking. We've got some drinks and food coming, so that's all sweet. I'll pass over to Anne.
try and use my laptop here as well. Currently I'm building tech, but I'm building tech. Kia ora everybody, it's such a pleasure to be here. Fun fact is that my grandfather, Professor Neil Mowbray, was one of the first honours students out of this university as a civil engineer. So it's always awesome to come back and spend time at this university. And I studied psychology here, so here we are. I'm from Humaneer, so I'm based here in Christchurch. I'm one of 3 co-founders, Corinne and Kim, based in Australia. We have built 2 sides to Humaneer. So the first part is our global HR community. So we now have a platform that has 1,400 global HR professionals who come together to learn and connect, all based on their HR roles. The other side to us, which is the part I head up as Chief of Product, is our AI HR native productivity partner called MAC. And so MAC has come together as the culmination of our 60 years of collective HR experience. We built it to solve the admin overload that we face in our HR roles. We spend 60 to 73% of our days on admin. So it's come together, it's live and it's public, so we're starting to see our first customers in there, which is super exciting. There's is it working? No? There we go. A lot of what we've done in the Humaneer realm is to really look at how we can reimagine our time. We did build it as an HR native platform, but we come at the use of AI in terms of how much time do we actually get to be brilliant? You know, we've spent years working away, grinding away, learning the admin, learning the foundations, but we really do believe that AI gives us this opportunity to support us in our roles, to explore things, create faster, implement things faster. We can get real-time feedback from our data and start to surface insights for businesses and CEOs much more quickly than we have done in the past. And it actually enables us to see risk and make better decisions and take action much faster than what we do today. For us though, we didn't start building Mac in the world of AI with what can AI do for us. We actually started with the question, what do we fiercely need to protect in the human experience of work? So we built our human amplification framework, and this is really what we lean into when we're building our product to ensure that we really maximise our opportunity to maintain our human strengths, and that's all about emotional intelligence and our critical reasoning that we've spent years building up over time. And then we want to look at the technology tasks that we're quite happy to automate. And we've all got our HR tech stacks or the tech stacks that you use in your business today. They're all doing repetitive data-driven work. But where the amplification framework comes into play for us is looking at AI and how can we use that as a bridge between the tasks we want to protect, fiercely protect, versus the tasks that are already in your tech stacks but AI can actually amplify or speed up. And so the part about Humaneer with this amplification framework is not only looking at how we build AI, a lot of it is about how we support our industry to go through the change curve. A lot of what HR are doing today is trying to understand where they need to lean into AI themselves, as well as shepherding businesses, CEOs, leaders through the change curve themselves. And so we've all seen this change before, right? A lot of us in this room have been through the implementation of things like the internet, cloud computing, the battle between Microsoft and Google. And so we've been through this type of intensive change before. However, AI is creating this dynamic where it's creating a much faster paced change curve for us all. And it's a part of the AI journey that we really believe needs a lot more intensive investment. And what we mean by that is the change curve that your teams are going through, that you're going through, it requires some effort around how we communicate.
Specific areas like East London is a really important one.
Is this Sarah?
Sorry, someone's taken
They got me. So the change curve is really all about how we build that psychological trust as leaders with our staff to ensure that we implement AI and we build it with trust and transparency. There are some real fears out there around the use of AI at the moment. People are worried about their roles, they're worried about the way we work, they're worried about the planet, they're worried about humanity. And so that's why with the Humaneer community, whilst we try to get HR into the use of AI, we are really dogmatic around how we're actually managing that change as well from the human perspective. The next part is around when we're managing this change, there are some really big risks that we need to be mindful of that also support the trust and transparency in your staff when it comes to the use of AI. The first one is around this data quality challenge, and we see this a lot in HR. We've all got legacy systems, we've got legacy data, it's all hiding in folders, in SharePoint, OneDrive, you name it. What we try to lean into around this particular risk is that data within your businesses, if you go release AI into that data and it's not clean data, AI will amplify bias and it will scale error. And so for a lot of teams at the moment, trying to lean into AI with this big intensive change and this rush to get in, and you must be using it, you must be more productive, what we're trying to say to our industry in particular, because it is people data, it is sensitive data, is that you've got to take that first step in ensuring that your data is clean. So we have to make sure that that's
cleaned up before we release any AI into that system. The next point that I just wanted to touch on was how we use AI in our businesses. There's a lot of invasive AI starting to come onto the market where it'll read your Slack messages, it will sit in emails, it will start to understand tone. Apparently it's about to give you insights into your culture and your engagement data. For us, what we're really trying to be cautious about is the fact that if you place AI into your business, it has the potential to change how your people operate. So if they're feeling watched, if they feel like they're being observed and they feel like it's invasive, potentially you are changing the behaviour of your people and your business. So they will start to perform for the system, and that's not what we want when it comes to innovation. So we've got a saying in Humaneer, just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. So just because you can observe your people through the use of AI and get it deep into those emails or your Slack channels, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. The next part I just wanted to touch on was, again, just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. It comes down to how much you can actually produce with AI today can actually increase the amount of data and stuff you have going on in your business. So it's really easy now to use AI to generate content, right? So you see in ChatGPT, we're producing emails, we produce stuff, it's all really verbose. If we don't keep that human oversight, that human in the loop, we really run the risk of creating AI goo. So this is information that you just create automatically, nobody touches it, nobody reviews it, nobody tinkers with it. We believe that there must be that human loop, there must be that human oversight where you're finessing that content. You must be reviewing it, not only from a risk perspective, but to make sure that you're not just placing this goo within your file structure. Because that's not creating productivity, it's actually creating more mess, more noise for your staff. So, when it comes to the use of AI in your businesses, one thing that we're really wanting to help our industry with is that you need to be building your AI control towers. So for large organisations, this is your cross-functional oversight committee. So it's not a CTO problem, it's not an HR problem, it's actually bringing together a committee of functions within your business like legal, like IT, like HR, like your governance committee, to make sure that you've got that oversight in place. It must be privacy by design, and it must have that human override in place. So we're really clear on how you bring your policy into your organisation, you set the guardrails, but you don't stop there. You must take that full stop further down the line, where you're actually continuously training your people on the use of AI. Because the thing with AI is it's the first piece of technology that now sits in the hands of your employees, right? So you can ban ChatGPT and you can force your staff into Copilot, but they've got ChatGPT sitting on their phones. So you've got to train for the worst case scenario that they are still entering data into ChatGPT. They're still potentially not taking out all of that sensitive client information or employee information. You've got to train for that impact, not for what your policy says. And so, part of what we want you to take away today is that we are all about less admin and more impact. Within HR, we want to remove those compliance barriers, we want to remove all of that mess in our days that actually removes us from sitting with, it stops us from sitting with business leaders and CEOs and actually helping you to grow your business, actually helping you to support your people and your leaders. When it comes to AI, if we can manage this well, we get this connection imperative, right? We can actually start lifting out of the detail. We can actually start being together as leaders in the business and in a team. We might find out that we no longer like each other, but that in itself is a good conversation to have. And then if we also do it well, we get this tech-enabled humanism, where we don't fear tech, we actually use it to enable us in our day-to-day roles. And then with that, we get the strategic time relation, where if we can remove some of that day-to-day admin that takes us away from the work, what is that other work that we can be doing with that time? And so for us, we are on a bit of a journey with our HR industry, but we're also supporting businesses and CEOs and leaders out there. We'd love to connect with you. Jump onto our website, take a look at what MAC is all about. But happy to chat afterwards and tell you more about MAC and what we're doing. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So, you have to excuse my voice. I caught what 50% of Christchurch had and just got my voice back today, but that's good timing, so here we are. So yeah, my name's Cowan. I'm one of the co-founders of Avocado AI, and just a really brief overview. As I said before, we're AI educators, so our approach is if you spend time upskilling your team in ways to use AI, and like you said there, around keeping those human qualities in there the whole way through, then you can really get a lot of innovation out of your team or individually yourself as well. Just a quick plug, we've got two ways we work. We either work with businesses, with groups within a business, larger business. We start with a pilot group to measure impact, then move on to other groups. And just recently, about 6 weeks ago, we launched an online learning platform so that anyone can go online, go to our website, buy the course essentially, and learn over 12 weeks, about an hour a week, how to really get squeeze stuff out of ChatGPT. But what I'm going to talk about today is just quickly a bit of a state of play as to what we're seeing out there and the clients that we're working with, and then just a quick practical tip. But to start with, I've got a couple of questions. So the first one is, put your hand up if you've used ChatGPT at least once. Cool. Keep it up if are you a daily user. Cool. Keep it up if you have a paid account. Okay, that's cool. Keep it up if you've built a custom GPT. Yeah, we'll put it back up, I'll get it wrong. You can't actually build one without a paid account, but that was a trick question. Who uses it on their phone? Cool. Who would say, just out of interest, that they talk to ChatGPT more than typing? Yes, well done. That's good. We'll talk about that. Awesome. And does anyone use it for life help? I don't know, relationship advice, gym advice, nutrition advice, all of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah? Cool. Awesome, that was just a little, it's always interesting when you get in front of a group, and what it tells me instantly is where New Zealand's at, right? There's a couple of people, normally in every 100, that have tinkered quite heavily. There's a few people who see their kids using it all the time, you know, that kind of thing. You know, there's always someone at work that's doing some cool stuff with ChatGPT, but I guess the really hard thing is, you know, the problem that we try to solve in the market is how do you take your whole team through that journey together? How do you cross-pollinate ideas? How do you, you know, do that journey together essentially? So, yeah. So, the reality of AI in New Zealand businesses. So there's patchy adoption. Most adoption in New Zealand is patchy, with most of it happening in shadow IT. In other words, you know, there might be a policy there that ChatGPT can't be used, doesn't matter, half the people are using it anyway because they've figured out it's easier. So we see that a lot, and I would say the majority of clients we work with, they're actually aware of that too. Experimentation versus embedding, so lots of companies are experimenting, usually it's, you know, one or two people, maybe in one or two different roles, they just sort of have a knack themselves, or they're just interested in it themselves. That was me. Before I started this business, I was working at a large sort of digital marketing agency, and I was spending my own time, all the time, learning about this, because just I wanted to, and I'm quite curious. Top barriers. It's really hard for a business to understand, okay, so if we invest all this time in tools and people, what's the actual ROI? You know, that's a really hard thing to think. Our sort of, you know, the way we approach things is we say, well, you know, our clients, I guess, are willing to invest to test. You know, invest time in the people, upskill them, and then see what comes out the other side. Resistance to change is a big thing. In every single group that we work with, in every single business, we actually ask the business to put a mix of people in, so people that are quite like, oh no, this is just a fad, you know, and people that are really keen on it. And when you get those people together, and you get them learning together week by week, it really helps bring that team culture together. And we haven't had a group yet where the people that were resistant to change, you know, by the time we get to the end, they're often the biggest advocates because they've been helped through that behaviour change journey. Lack of AI literacy and security concerns. Where AI actually sticks, businesses start to rethink processes, behaviour and mindsets and upskill their teams. We could be saying that just because, it could be biased, the fact that we do that, but we think that our clients come out at the end with fairly successful adoption because they haven't just gone, here's a tool, or you should all be 20% more productive now. They've gone, actually it's a journey and we're willing to give you the time to go through the journey, So the human side of AI, so there's definitely job loss concerns. We find that, once people have been trained, they're a little bit less scared about that. Maybe they understand it a bit more. Humans, we feel we don't know, right? So I guess once you know a little bit more about it, that helps there. Complexity fears. A lot of people think AI is really complex and difficult. It's actually not. It's just about learning how to, ask the right questions, explore, slow down, test ideas. Trust issues. It starts from the top. So last year, we had a few clients where the leaders weren't really that interested. They just wanted to get a pilot group going, level below the leaders, and it just doesn't work. You have to have that leadership involvement and the buy-in, and for them to be visibly adopting it. Some of our best clients, their leaders will be walking around talking to ChatGPT in front of everyone. Just reminding people just to lean on that, to lean on the tool that they've learned how to use. And then you've got all your security risks, which is again, we sort of help with all of this. We look at your policies, educating on the policy, and there's just settings within your AI apps that can help with security stuff there. So that's kind of the human side of it. Just a couple of things I'll point on here, then I'll get practical. So the biggest thing is asking better questions. So it's not necessarily about answering instant answers, it's about asking better questions. And something we say is that using AI, something like ChatGPT really well, comes down to the ability to define a problem, which is actually a really good life skill. So, whether it's business or whether it's in life, if you can clearly define a problem, then you're going to be streaks ahead. Safe to fail experiments. So businesses will go, and this is the thing that takes time. It's not, you can't learn to ride a bike in a couple of hours. You kind of learn over time, adding skills on each week or each time you practice or whatever. Same sort of thing, but you've actually got to allow that time within your business to experiment and to fail, and share why it failed, and then learn from that together. And then play and rethink. So that's all around slowing down and having a play, tweaking things, rethinking things. And even in times in history as well, that's when real breakthroughs have happened, is when these experimental people have taken their time and explored other ideas and gone a bit further there. And we talk about the mindset, sort of the mindset required to build, to really, build this, I don't like saying the word relationship, but you know what I mean, that your interactivity with AI really comes from you having a curious, critical and creative mindset, and that isn't natural to everyone. What we often find actually, and especially in my circles, is people that have kind of, since AI came out, they've been spending a lot of their own time on it. They're usually people that are naturally curious and they're critical and they're a bit creative as well. So that's kind of the mindset that we try and take people towards. So one of the main things we think that everyone should do is skill up on how to use AI. First of all, you've got to have the curiosity, then you've got to build your capability, and then you'll have impact. So that's kind of what we work towards. So in our course that we run, we do a 12-session course, whether that's in person or the online version. One of the very first things that we talk about is prompt building blocks, and that's something. Who's heard of prompt building blocks before? Oh, good, not too many people. Otherwise, that would have been awkward if everyone knew. But it's one of the first things we talk about, and if you were to take one thing away from what I'm talking about today, and get to work tomorrow or get home and try something, it'll be this. So, framing prompts, and as I said, framing a good prompt comes down to the ability to define a problem, which is a great life skill. This is what we talk about. So, we talk about our prompt building blocks. I'll put this up against at the end for a bit if you write them down. But so you can create great structured prompts by using 2 or 6 of these. Now, I'll just speak quickly on the difference between a structured prompt and a conversational prompt, which is what we talk about a lot. A structured prompt is when you spend a lot of time up front giving AI everything you think it needs to give a good answer. That's one way of doing things. Another way of doing things is conversational. So, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and you go back and forth a while until you get to where you're at. But as we all know, quite often AI can go off on a random little tangent. So this is a really good place to start. So the top three, task, role, and context, are the most important ones. So your task, what are you asking ChatGPT to do? If you were sitting down with a brand new intern into your business and you had to explain to them, what job you'd like them to do, this is a little bit like that. Role, that can be two things. That can either be explaining what your role is, or what I use probably 80% of the time is explaining what role or hat I'd like ChatGPT to put on. So for example, when I was putting together this for today, I already had this thing, like the basic presentation, I guess you would say, and then I put a ChatGPT in a role, and I said, these are the types of people that are going to be in the room. What would be an interesting example to show them? It's just a little example of that. Putting AI, putting a hat on AI is really, really cool, and it gets it to start thinking in the right perspective of what the answer you want it to give. Context, that's when you can blab about everything else you think it might need to know to understand what you're asking it to do. So there you talk about the three important ones, and I'll show an example next. The next three, limitations. So that's when you're thinking like, okay, 500 words, or don't think about this aspect, etc. Format, is it a table, is it a report, is it a document to a certain New Zealand standard, is it a law document, what is it? Reasoning. Reasoning is probably the hardest one to grasp, but it's such a powerful one. So reasoning is when you get it almost to explain its working, so you can see, you're working with AI and it gives you something and it's not quite right, but you can't figure out why it's not quite right. Ask it to show its workings or its reasoning, and you'll spot straight away, oh, it's misunderstood that bit. Does that make sense? Is that useful, do you think? Yeah, cool, I'll show an example. So here's a basic prompt. Audit a site's health and safety document with the documentations. And for this example, I actually just got ChatGPT to make up a whole bunch for me because I didn't have any. But that's that basic prompt. And a lot of people, when they use AI, they'll go in and type something like that. So in that right there, how many building blocks are there in there, do you reckon?
1.5.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's like a slight bit of context maybe, but it's just all a task, right? So if exactly. Oops. And there's the answer. I mean, it's alright. Tidy these up before work-safe arrives. So, how can we make it better? So that's the original prompt. We've only got task. So we're missing quite a few of them, right? So I'll just go through, and this is just an example, it'll give you the idea. So let's look at the first three building blocks. So task, audit a site's health and safety documentation, which we already had. Role, you are a safety officer or a site engineer responsible for compliance. Context, we're preparing for a work safe NZ visit at a medium-sized construction site in Christchurch. Now that could be a lot longer, that context, if you really want it to get, what kind of site is it, what's on the site, all that sort of stuff. The next three, to really get this going good. Limitations, so only focus on these required documents. Format, provide a checklist table showing document, current status, is it missing, is it okay, is it outdated, what action do I need to do? Reasoning, what are the most commonly missed or outdated documents during audits? Highlight high risk gaps first with reasoning. So you can see there's quite a bit more there, right? So let me just check out the answer. Oh, sorry. And just a quick thing, you can actually just cheat, and you can literally put it into ChatGPT like this. I did this for the first probably a few months until I just got into the routine of it. Literally task equals blah blah blah, role equals blah blah blah. It understands all that. So written out, if you wanted to just write it out on all but one thing, just write it out. You see the different bits there, and so on. So that's what it spat out for me, which you can see is a lot more detailed, right? There you've got your document, the current status, and this is based on a whole bunch of documentation I actually got it to make up for this exercise, but I specifically said make sure there's 30 to 40% of things that needs to be fixed. So then you've got your current status, you've got your action needed, you know, it's referencing actual areas, it's talking about what you need to do, it's bringing in dates, it's telling you, you know, action points. That's a heck of a lot more useful, right? And then that was this part, the next part here, when we asked for the reasoning, it's now giving me, cool, so why these gaps matter, you know, you have a skill of that, missing outdated SWMS, single most common enforcement issue, particularly for work at high crane operations, both rated high risk by work safe. So all of a sudden, you know, those two answers that it gave me is a lot more useful than that. And all I did was think more deeply about what it needs to know to do a good job for me. Another thing in here as well that I'll just point out, there is a big difference when you're in the paid account of ChatGPT with the different models. Anything with an O at the beginning slows down and thinks a bit more for you. 4O is good for just everyday kind of, you know, where's the cheapest spot to get some beers on the way home type questions. But then when you want it to slow down and think for a bit more, grabbing an O model and then trying to put a little bit more information into it is going to give you a much better output. So if you can take anything away from me tonight, it is, first thing is, just start playing with ChatGPT. Second thing, just start thinking about these building blocks when you next come up with a problem that you'd like AI to help you solve. So yeah, that's me.
Good, thanks. I was going to ask those questions. I also had in my mind a slightly different demographic. Who's under 30 in here? Yeah. I was also thinking there might be a bunch of students. Are there any students in here as well? Cool. Okay, cool. I'm part of a 25-person structural consultancy. I'm also renowned for my blunt pragmatism. I gave my presentation to ChatGPT, and the feedback it gave was it needs more empathy. But I'm a much nicer person to person, so if you want to talk later. Market's bloody tough at the moment, like real tough. We were 40 people 18 months ago. I'd be happy if we got 10% performance on top of our cost this year. That'd be good. Yep. At 10%, if I can find 300k savings in the business, that's the equivalent of doing $3 million more work. And right now, I can tell you which one is a bit easier to do, probably with AI. So that's some pretty big leverage, right? Some more fun facts. Who uses Revit in their business? Anyone? Yeah, engineering software. Autodesk runs Revit. They put $1.3 something billion into R&D and software last financial year, on top of the $1.3 billion they put in the year before, and probably $1 something billion next year, right? Let's be confident. $5 million for BMC total revenue this year. We are 0% of revenue. Sorry, we are 0% of the budget for Autodesk's research next year into software. 0.357. And that's going on across the fleet of long-standing, well-funded, and already pretty good software packages we're using. So what? So BMC's not going to write software for engineering that's going to be at the bleeding edge of engineering technology, right? We are going to get it just like everyone else when it gets rolled out by Autodesk. And our job is to be there as early adopters of this stuff and do a really good job when it comes out. We're not going to reinvent it. Our job is to find micro opportunities every day, places where this effort by others can be used and leveraged to give a better service offering to our clients. So, what's on my mind when it comes to value that AI offers engineering in my context as a consultancy? It might not be that exciting to engineers at the moment, but I'm looking for efficient business performance. And you know, this talk was described as insightful presentations where we delve into the world of AI, explore its rapid evolution and the profound effects it will have on every job. A lot of these effects are going to be on how the business uses your skills and how efficient you can be with them. You know, if you don't believe that at the moment, you better get your head around it. Competent technical engineering is the baseline in our business. don't be worried that technical elements of your role might become automated. Instead, know that that is happening. It's been happening for 40 years. It's just going to happen way quicker in the next few, right? That will happen. It's not an if or a when. It's happening right now. But it's the things that go on top of this baseline that carry you up, right? And give you the opportunities and get the deals across the line. So, AI in our business, excuse my pragmatic slides, but one of the biggest problems we have as a business is helping our staff understand that for the most part our clients aren't interested in engineering. And in fact, many of them actively dislike the fact that they need it and are seen as a hindrance to something else they're trying to achieve, right? They've got goals and they're definitely not looking at calculations. Clients are buying outcomes. They want views through a bracing wall, indoor-outdoor flow underneath a cantilevered corner or lettable commercial space without columns in the way. As an engineer in our business, your job's not to impress someone with their engineering, it's to take a chaotic set of inputs from an emotionally motivated client, often an architect trying to sell a dream, a builder trying to manage costs, perhaps even a friendly project manager, and give them a compliant design that meets their priorities. And that's tough as an engineer. Use case. Use AI to organise your thoughts in a compelling way. Write a GPT that takes your engineering perspective and translates it. Deliberately force yourself to adopt a different approach. Use technology to speak in the language of the people you're communicating with. What does the bank think about what you're about to say to the client? How many people sit down and do an analysis of the funding stream in the bank's perspective when they're trying to sell a solution design? What's the architect's perspective? How's the project manager going to deal with the conflict you're about to create? You can write a GPT that gives this to you in under 10 seconds, right? And that will make you better at communicating with clients. Make your GPT take these different perspectives, summarise their like reactions, get it to write questions that you can ask to prevent the reactions, preemptively de-escalate conflict and avoid chaos in your relationships. Once technical AI tools and software are sufficiently advanced, these skills will differentiate people from the one that's sitting over there just clicking the button for the mathematical solution. The laws of physics aren't going to change. The only time they do is when we update the MBS. The way we explain our business is that we help our clients find a compliant pathway to the desired outcome. This requires expert knowledge of legislation, code, standards, etc. These are all written things that are available to go and dump into these tools, right? So, use case, build a tool that aggregates the information. Do it for a standard or a piece of code, or a piece of legislation, combine a bunch of them, feed it a base template that helps you explain compliance through the layers in language that your clients or other people collaborating will understand. Take the density out of it, build it as an educational model. Engage in the learning early instead of waiting for a mentor to teach you that if you're a student or a graduate. Doing something that cannot be solved is a hole in our bucket. A business is a never-ending stream of spending, the money you've just earned or sometimes before you earn it, wages, insurance, etc. But there's also things like proposal preparation, just one of the administrative tasks that no one seems to want to pay you for. Use case, automate absolutely everything you can. Build a fee estimating tool. Drop the template into your platform alongside the percentages from your past projects, do a workstream analysis. Write a script that has categories for the work streams, tie it into your project inception agenda tool. These are all things that I don't know what you think when I say that, but you can do this in under 3 minutes in ChatGPT. These are really simple things to do, but no one's doing it. None of the stuff is complicated. But if you're not doing it, you're behind. You need to figure out micro use cases that aggregate into efficiency in your specific context. I wrote down 2 short stories here. For my next point, one of our founding directors in his 70s and retired now used to come to the board with some thoughts on AI all the time, every board meeting. He couldn't touch top. He had an opportunity for more than 40 years to be more effective and he still didn't take it. Right? The only obstacle was the upfront behaviour change. Second story, I asked someone the other day to come up with a plan for experimenting with AI in the role. I asked them to list the areas of the role, an idea for experimentation in each, and the expected benefits they might discover. A week later, no plan, too busy. while they were explaining to me that they were too busy, I did that in ChatGPT 2 minutes later, and then sent it to them and said, here, this is what I meant. So what? AI won't change anything at all unless you behave differently. You must change your mindset and you must behave differently if you expect this to be of any use. Experience still matters, but it's a platform, not a ceiling. The highest value is brought by those who adapt their experience with new tools. Use case, and it's not actually an AI use case, it's a very, very strong piece of encouragement to spend the time and effort, if you haven't already, becoming efficient at data entry. For some people, typing slowly will limit their ability to use this stuff. But not just touch typing, right? Experiment with voice to text, like I was talking about before. Drawing recognition, how to use photos or video to capture information that can be recognised within the software. Have a really good think about how quickly you personally can get information into the tools. Are you the bottleneck? What makes you different? And apologies to the grads if they're in here, but a couple of brutal truths, right? Grads cost the business money up front. That's normal, but we invest anyway because we need minds thinking in the next paradigm, not just repeating what's happened in the last one. I can see students and graduates suddenly becoming much more rounded and experienced individuals by the time they leave university, and the graduate process turning into a much steeper and far more personalised learning curve. Use case. Mentoring typically requires someone experienced to guide you along. What would they be teaching you? Because you can access all of this information right now using generative AI. How much more pragmatic and experienced can you make yourself by the time you turn up for your first day of full-time employment? Or by the time you hit the anniversary of your first day of employment? Write a tool that does grade development. Students should be doing this for themselves as part of their personal curriculum study when they're at uni. Put yourself further ahead than other people. You know, how much more self-directed can your learning be? How can you remove dependence on others for the speed and quality of your learning and development in the early stages of your career? It's really easy, you've just got to actually behave differently. Students and grads have got a head start if they build the AI literacy now. They will be out the gate. And the last couple of points, you know, there's no use cases on this slide, and it's been touched on, rather some anti-use cases here. Cowan smiling here. Because I always ask him whether he's written his emails to me in ChatGPT. People get sick of it pretty quickly. I'm sick of GPT's cheery attitude, seeing its telltale sign of overzealous mixed formatting and emojis. Generally, people want to do business with other people, so be careful to remember that AI is a tool, much like a slide rule or a hammer. It's not a solution to anything. The standard of performance enshrined in the ACE New Zealand short form agreement at clause 3 is that in providing the services, the consultant must use a degree of skill, care and diligence reasonably expected of a professional consultant. Your performance will be and should be held against that of someone doing things from first principles and by the book. Your job's to make sure you're still being a professional and that AI is being used as a tool to deliver your services to a higher standard, not to deliver your services for you. And does someone else believe you've produced what they're receiving? That's going to become a real barrier in terms of trust. It was interesting to hear Annie talk on trust before. When's the last time you went and shook someone's hand? Have you used AI to go down the rabbit hole and do even more engineering than was necessary instead of standing back and taking the time that you efficiently created to get out the door and go and connect with people and maintain relationships? Why? I hope everyone's seen this before. Obviously ask why 5 times. It avoids symptoms, it draws your understanding back to facts and causes. Don't let AI railroad you into an answer that you don't understand the cause or the origin or the context of, because that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. I've got a stream of people turning up with business cases where the maths don't even add up, or they want to work 8.9 hours. That's 54-minute clock watching. If through and think all the way back, and much like Cowan's prompts before, I've been typing why into ChatGPT a lot lately, and even ChatGPT's got to go back and start thinking about why it's explaining things that way. So, use case, ask why. It's super simple. People still moving too fast to do this too often, and any of these Gen AI tools give you a world of understanding which you can scale up and down in complexity as you see fit. I asked a great tax question the other day. It was super exciting. I didn't understand anything that came back, but I could go, go back, explain those concepts to me in under 100 words as if I'm in primary school. And then I increased it to secondary school, and then I increased it to university, and then I brought it back to my context. So, make sure you're asking the why and setting things to the right level of understanding. Literally no one in our business now doesn't have an AI education. Every single one of our staff members has been through a 12-week course with Avocado AI. Single-handedly propped them up for a quarter. Our business ChatGPT account's got 94 different custom GPTs in it, written internally by our own staff. Not all useful, some absolutely useless. But even those not useful ones are practice ones, right? That's people having a practice swing. They're actually experimenting with it. And we're not looking for the ultimate performance advantage, one big breakthrough that means we're 70% better than everyone else. We're looking for a lift in the baseline across the whole business in the way people think and behave. We're looking for 5%, and then another 5% on that, and then another 5%, and then another 5%, which compounds over time to being much, much better. That's the game we're in. There's not going to be some magic breakthrough. But importantly, that 5% is our people. It's not these specific tools, because those tools will keep changing. What's new today may well be gone in a year, and what works well on one project doesn't necessarily work well on another one either. When I sit down for a performance review now, or a project review, I'm going to start asking questions like, show me how you use technology to improve the effectiveness. Explain to me a constraint that you've removed by using technology. How have you eliminated that or rescaled the issue using the power of these things? We're training problem solvers, not instruction followers. So my closing thought to you this evening would be, what constrains your thinking about what you can achieve? How do you decide how much work or stuff you can achieve in a given period of time? And how does your mindset limit your efficiency and scale? How can you think and behave differently with the help of AI? Not what will AI do for me? How can you think and behave differently with the help of AI?
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. We've got food over there, so just don't look yet. I told you that actually. Don't get too hungry. Last presentation, make it relatively quick to go through. Again, my name is Blake. I'm currently working at MainPower. MainPower do the power distribution from Transpower to homes and businesses in North Canterbury. So that's all the way from Rangiora all the way to Kaikoura across to Humaneer. My role kind of has four main points. It's monitoring the AI updates. As you know, the kind of whole area is moving really, really fast. It's also upskilling staff, how to ensure we know how to prompt, how do we understand how to use different tools that we're implementing, identifying use cases, and then also building out those solutions, which I'll talk about later on today. So I've got three key takeaways that I'd like to kind of you go away with. AI is the future, it's not the present. AI is not the future, it is the present. Wrong way around. Businesses are actually getting really, really good impact on time saving and cost savings now. It's not something that if you wait a long time, then you can actually use that technology. Because today's AI is actually the least capable it will ever be. And this is the thing that I always think about. The amount we can already get done is really, really crazy, and it's only going to go up from here. So when you try to learn, if you're going to learn from a year from now, you're going to be really, really, really behind. And hopefully some of these applications that I talk about are some things that you can actually use tomorrow. So at MainPower we have access to Copilot, and that's really good for the basic kind of use cases that you use in ChatGPT. How do I do X lookups in Excel? How do I rewrite this email? But the real power of AI is we hook that into our integrated data in a private manner, so we use Microsoft environment, and we can create these custom chatbots which have been talked about previously. So on the left here, if I just ask the normal Copilot, hey, what's the regulation code for a low voltage connection, all that kind of information, yeah, it could pull some information from the actual regulation, but you may have heard of hallucinations where it blends information together. So what we can actually do is go, hey, only look at the regulation document, don't look at anything else, and then we remove that hallucination. And so now people at MainPower are able to go, hey, what is the LV, what's my example there, a new LV connection, how do we set that up, and it provides that information. That can be done for any regulation, any kind of long form documents. The really cool use case we found here is with our customer service team. And so they get a whole range of questions that come in via email or phone. They've got a whole lot of documents you can see there that they need a reference, whether it's our MainPower website, the participation code, etc. Instead of going through them manually, we can just have that one agent there. They ask the question, hey, this is what the customer's saying. They get the information back, and then they can validate that before passing it on to the customer, which saves a huge amount of time for them. These are some other use cases as well. I won't go through them all, but it's IT support, website Q&As, auditing documents is a really good use case. If we've got a bunch of standards, we need to check it against our regulation, we can put them both in and we can find out areas that we may be going wrong in. Another cool use case of these custom chatbots is a function called Code Interpreter. And so if you've got some CSV data, you can load that in and get some initial analysis. If I want to plot outages over time, if I want to know the standard deviation, what are the causes happening, we can all do that in these custom chatbots, which is pretty cool. Another one we have is text to SQL, which we've got a SQL database of all of our information. We can go ask the prompt, hey, what is how many ICPs do we have? It will write that query for us, run the query, and pull that information back. Previously, we had to people would go into Tableau, go into Power BI, pull the data in, write some functions, get the information, whereas we can do that instantly. So it's really about that time saving of getting information. The kind of goal that we're moving towards is the data integrated AI. We've got a lot of these custom separate chatbots around for different pieces of information, but the kind of goal is to be, hey, I've got this information I need to find. Instead of me manually going into Microsoft, Excel, Tableau, all that stuff, I can ask it, it knows where to pull the information from and displays that to me really, really easily. One cool thing we're looking at for image recognition, for our polls, we've got to go around every 5 years to make sure there's no defects on them. Back in the day, you had to get up in a bucket, check everyone individually. We can now fly a drone across our network to take a whole bunch of photos. Still, we've got to manually look through the photos. So now we can actually train an AI model to go, hey, that is a wooden pole, it's missing a possum guard, are there insulators on it, and missing wires, and it's all, again, is about that time saving. Again, we're looking at health and safety wise, smoke and fire detection on our substations or our key zones, or restricted zone entry, making sure people aren't coming in at night, and so then we can act and go, actually, fire department, you need to come out here, police, you need to come out here to protect our areas of cameras. Image generation is another cool tool that we're sort of playing around with. Has anyone played with GPT-1's image generation with fixed little text? And so these here are all AI generated. And so you can do that for any internal documentation. If I want to explain how agentic AI works, if I want to explain health and safety, I can get these really cool posters really, really quick. And again, it's all around that time saving. This is a video generation. Has anyone heard of VO3? A few nods, sweet.
The best EDP in New Zealand. I've got to say, MainPower is such a good company.
Yeah, it's been great for us, sheep.
MainPower has just upgraded the entire network and is the best in New Zealand.
Well, what do you think about MainPower?
It's awesome, always providing us good, reliable power.
That's completely free, fully AI generated, really, really cool. So you can do the audio and you can get to absolutely anything you want. And so this is some really cool use cases where MainPower as a whole hasn't really done a whole lot of community outreach and bringing stuff out to people. One of our things we have is our asset management plan, which we've got to put out every year, which is a huge document that no one really wants to read. We can create a really fun, cool video for really, really cheap and put that out of the key points to our consumers, which is really cool. So that was all the real basic stuff. That's what I call generative AI. This is agentic AI. Does anyone know what agentic AI is? Have you heard of it? Yes, sweet. So what it is it actually has tools that it can use. So unlike normal chatbots, you put a message in, you get a prompt back, you get some images or a video. It actually has a range of tools so that could connect to a database, it could search the web, it could have its own computer and run things in Excel, etc. So I've got a few examples that I'll show here that we're playing around with. So this is a tool called Manus, which is agentic. And we wanted to figure out, hey, areas in North Canterbury that have really high traffic, but have no superchargers for electric vehicles. And so what we'll see it do in real time, it loads up its virtual computer. This is all real time as of how it was going. Makes a checklist at the top, starts pulling data from NZTA, starts pulling data from different councils, goes through, and this cost about 50 cents to run, took about 6 minutes, and we get a report here, executive summary, how it did it, where it pulled the data from, and 3 top places that we should put electric vehicle chargers. And check that with the guy who's kind of responsible for looking at this, and it matched all 3 of them with the top 3 that he would recommend. So this stuff would take a day or 2 days for him to do to pull all that data together, and now we can do that in minutes, which is really cool. The other one is also for our regulation reporting. So what we can do here is put in sales data, so this is some fake sales data, a fake regulation, and it will go through and do the entire regulation reporting for me. And so we can skip through, same sort of thing. Up here, do our entire disclosure, it's the fake company name, did all the calculations, went back and checked the calculations, they were all correct, all of that kind of stuff. I didn't really like the document, I asked it to make me a website and host a website for me, and so I built a whole website that you can go on your phone now and come to this website as well and see this fake chocolate sales reporting. Got some nice little graphs in here,